Greetings, salutations, and good now. Welcome to another major weekly forecast for the 6th of July up until the 12th or 13th. I don't have any notes, but I'm just gonna go off of, what the wind is saying. Now, there's a lot of heavy hitting placements and aspects that we're going to experience this week. We're going to talk about them. Sun in Cancer, Mercury retrograde in Cancer, Mars separating from Uranus, Jupiter just sliding into Leo, Virgo, Venus late degrees, Leo, gonna be sliding into Virgo, and we got Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries, about to go retrograde. Now let's talk about it. Now you could see all of the placements that we talked about. Cancer, which is water, and Sun and Mercury is there. So Sun is how you do things, Mercury is thinking, communicating, processing information, and also short distance travel in retrograde. So it seems that we might be doing things, redoing things, reinvestigating, just anything rediscovering, redoing, I'm trying to find some new RE words. My brain is processing a bit slow. The retrograde, there you go. But things may be a bit delayed, not so clear, a bit fuzzy. Tends to happen in the retrograde. We get quite introspective. We go within. You have to really, take your time with what you're saying, how you're communicating, and the messages that you're really projecting out into the world. Because again, retrograde, if you were making mistakes, especially from the Gemini season, I think Mercury might slide all the way back there. I would have to check, but the retrograde, it appears that whatever we are thinking, communicating, processing at the present time is something that we would have done. And so hopefully when we did it correctly. And so we're not finding any mistakes as we redo this. It's just building to, our competence and also building our confidence, right? When we have these retrograde moments. And so that's Sun Mercury retrograde in Cancer. We could go a lot deeper into the Cancer, and I think we should, because it really, well, for me, I'm feeling this Cancer season heavily. My brother is a Cancer, and so there's just a lot I'm living with my mom right now until I get my own apartment, which is supposed to be materializing soon. So just a whole load of Cancerian energy. Like, I'm really in the depths of it, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? I don't even want to get deeper into it. So that's that. And then we go a bit back to what's happening with Uranus and Mars, separating from Uranus. I had my shocking breakthroughs, I had my rebellious moments, I had all of it where my uniqueness, I was so passionate about my unique way of communicating with divine, right? And so, man, astrology is a lot deeper when you take it personally, when it comes to your communication or just your relationship with the divine. And so Mars is going to be in Gemini. Doesn't particularly like to be there. We could see this intensity. We could see this forceful energy in this, communicative sign of learning. So maybe passionate about how we communicate, passionate about the things that we are learning and processing, and overall communicating, whether it's verbal or non-verbal. There's a heavy emphasis on symbology right now. And so whether it's direct, blatant in your face, or it's a lot subtle, you know communicating in a passionate way is one of the themes on the cards, and that's in ear, mutable ear. And so mutable ear could be here, there, and everywhere, right? It's not cardinal, it's not initiating, and it's not fixated. It's flexible, it's volatile, it's mutable. And so we need to be, a little bit, careful, I would say, because Gemini, it could be mutable, and so it could be seen as maybe chaotic on the worst end. That's air. And then we go to Jupiter, right? Just sliding into Leo, leaving its final blessings in its exalted house, which is Cancer, moving into Leo. And so a lot of the things that, it was manifesting in Cancer is now going to go public, right? Hopefully you could enjoy it. There's some entertainment, there's some pleasure there's abundance, which could be shared and felt among others, on this grand stage. And we have Venus also there, and that's fire, right? Expression, passion, visualization, right? Leo, it's a fixated fire. Fixated fire. So fixed emotion, right? It's not wavering. And so it could be a nice grand stage, or it could just be, what would be the opposite, right? The shadow of fixed fire, not in a good way, right? Sounds like a hellistic state, just fixated in, this illusion, this imagination, this delusion, right? This ego. This ego. It's a dis-ego. It's not even like a ego in, a good way, because everyone needs to have their own individuality, right? Their own way of doing things and perceiving things. But if it's a dis-ego, oh man, it's disorganized, it's disoriented, you feel like it's all about you, the whole world revolves around you. No, everyone could come to the marketplace and share their goods, and and so Jupiter being there, fire. And then we have Saturn and Neptune. Neptune is about to go retrograde, and the Sun is going to be squaring off with Saturn, I think, on the 7th, right? On the 7th, this week, all of the aspects are going to be in concession, quick concession. And, Saturn is there in Aries. Not the best place for Saturn to be. Saturn, I think, falls in Aries, right? And so boundaries, restrictions, limitations, discipline and fire. Ooh. Trying to contain the fire, right? Contain the passion, be structured about your identity and your ego, your passions and your motivations, things that you really, shape your identity, right? The things that are so personal to you that people could identify you by, those characteristics or mannerisms or traits. And, Saturn is trying to shape and mold that identity, something greater, something stronger. And the fire is hot. So you might have to go through it, you know. You might have to go through some heat, let's say, and some molding. I'm just thinking about a blacksmith, you know, with the sword or the raw material, right? The raw material over the flame and just forging it, right, into something powerful, something strong, something that could represent strength and endure the test of time. Neptune going retrograde. I used to, because I don't know if I need to continue in this manner, but I used to describe Neptune as that cosmic magical spliff. Take a whiff, and then you daze off into dreamland. Dreams, fantasies, illusion, creativity, the wildest things that you want to, you know, bring down into this world. It could be quite pleasurable, could be quite satisfying to just stay in that state, you know. But the trick with Neptune is that it's so far away, right? It's so far away. It's like those wildest dreams, right? The creativity. I mean, with the creativity, it's easier to bring it down. We have technology, we got the machines, you know. But some of these fantasies and dreams, you know, especially if they're rooted in the matrix system, they could quickly look like the shadow of Neptune, you know, or the dark side, which would be the disillusionment, or, you know, being in a fantasy land, you know, just being high all the time, and, you know, all of those dreams, you never bring them down into reality because, you know, Neptune doesn't give you the blueprint to really structure these things, right? It's just there. And so being in retrograde, you take another hit, right? Retrograde. Or you try to undo the hit. How do you describe Neptune in retrograde? And so just you going back into old dreams, old illusions, disillusionments. You're going back to old creative things that may be outdated now, and you still, you know, it seems like confusion, right? It just seems like chaotic and confusion. No forward momentum, no clear direction in terms of how you're going to manifest those dreams, right? We all got dreams and wishes and things, fantasies, right? That could be applied to all different aspects of life, you know, in the Angelus. And this is in Aries too. So Aries is fire, cardinal fire, initiating and creating new ways of seeing and viewing the world. And so too much fire when it comes to your imagination, too much fantasies that you can't bring down, is like you're living in a world that's just a dream, right? And in reality, your reality doesn't match the dream, so you just want to escape and go to the dream. However you get there, however you tap closer to that fantasy, right? Whether it's viewing something or some substance, or, you know, neglecting your responsibilities and cosplaying as if, you know, you're doing something. Like Neptune retrograde is And if I'm to try to bring back the chart into my mind, there's that triangle shape. There's that triangle shape with all of the outer planets. We have Neptune in Aries is sextiling Uranus in Gemini, right? That Uranus in Gemini is trining Pluto in Aquarius, that's a trine, and then Pluto in Aquarius, which is also retrograde, by the way, is sextile in Neptune in Aries. So the outer planets, they have their own thing going on. And the inner planets, they all have something interesting happening as well, right? No easy placement, no easy task. Because Uranus there, busting up in Gemini. I think Uranus would operate there. It's going to be there for a long time, but that little, Mars thing, that was big. That was huge. I'm grateful that I was on the right side of the energies, the forces, the influences, because that was big. No, I think the main thing that I wanted to get to with all of the placements is that right now, or for the past couple, barring the moon, right? We're going to bar the moon. We're going to, the moon is the VIP. Because moon is sliding around. The mood is sliding around. So that's like the saving grace to tell you the truth, right? We had the full moon over there in Capricorn, because what I wanted to say is that we have no placements in Earth. There's no Earth placements. Now, Venus is about to slide into Virgo. Venus, Virgo, sounds like it's gonna go well there, right? But before that happens, that's gonna happen later this week. But for quite some time, we have no planets grounding us. Nothing stabilizing us at all, right? And so I feel like there's a sort of void. It's good. Don't get me wrong. The placements, if you're on the right side of the forces, okay. And with some luck, because the world is crazy, right? We're fortunate. We're really fortunate to be even having this dialogue and conversation in comparison to what's happening on the global, you know what I'm saying? But let's focus back here. There's no placements in Earth. So then you gotta go look at, the lords of the houses of the Earth signs. You gotta go look at, well, we know Saturn is in Aries, right? Taurus would be who? Venus is in fire. And when you go to the Virgo space, who's Virgo? Mercury. It's Mercury for Virgo, right? Virgo Gemini. Where's Mercury? Retrograde in Cancer. You go on to Capricorn, where we already said Saturn is in Aries. So even the lords for the stabilizing factors ain't really in great positions. And so, with everything that's going to transpire in the week ahead, I know it didn't go deep into, how that could all play out, because the main point is we need to do grounding, right? We need that stabilizing factor. I think the charts is, showing us that Venus is gonna slide there, and Venus is what we want, right? How we feeling, what we want to attract. Virgo, mutable ways of stability, right? And so it seems like we've been a bit unstable, or going through a moment of needing grounding, and so we need to be putting in that extra effort to balance out the elemental differences, if you guys are following me. And so whatever you do to ground yourself, hopefully you got some solid foundations, because people are gonna be losing their minds, people are gonna be losing their souls, like their emotional bodies, and that trickles on physically, you know what I'm saying? And our energies, everything we do has such a powerful ripple effect in the universe, you know, and on the physical plane. And so everything you do, you need to be serious about it. Like, you're gonna have the playful times and the happy times and, you know, joking, but all of that is serious too, because you're making a permanent dent in the Akashic records. And so there's a whole lot of room for on earth like qualities, especially because the lords are fallen and retrograde, and, well, you know, Venus is gonna slide there into Virgo, but that's later in the week. And all the time she was in Leo, right? And so whatever you do, that should be grounding. I think Sun in Cancer is like, just keep it simple, you know, keep it basic. Like, don't try to go overboard, don't try to go too deep, don't try to go too left field, don't try to go too right. If you look at, you know, the Cancer sign, it's like just on the general, right? I don't know where it is in terms of where the midheaven is. I'm not sure if it's on the midheaven, but just on the general, like, we know Cancer is above the horizon, right? There's a heavy emphasis of ancestry and roots and workings and, you know, your legacy and family ties and stuff like that. But we, like, it's not the time to dibble dabble, right? Solve firm foundations right now. Ground yourself, right? Not trying to be too cardinal and try to initiate something new, you know what I'm saying? Not try to be too mutable, too flexible, go overboard, you know what I'm saying? Try to get into things that you don't really understand. You don't want to suffer that way, right? So we're gonna be grounding, like basic exercise, running, meditation, you know, whatever you're competent or comfortable in when it comes to grounding yourself. No dibble dabbling. Know what I'm saying? Okay. So that's our weekly forecast for this week. We need to stay protected, but we also need to ground ourselves. And like I said, just do what's the most comfortable thing for you when it comes to grounding. We got a lot of planets in air. We got a lot of planets in fire. And we got planets in water. And if we were to mush all of them together elementally, water, fire, steam, but then you got to look at the modality of the water, cardinal or cardinal. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Leo, which is fixated fire. So fire just flooded in again. And then you got Pluto and Aquarius, fixated water coming in. You know what I'm saying? And then Neptune coming in with more fire from Aries. However, she does it in her little icy type of way. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Saturn, you know what I'm saying, with fire too. So some fire rocks coming over there. You know what I'm saying? Yo, the Pantheon is going crazy. And then Jupiter is in Leo over there. Just big, you know what I'm saying? Fire's coming in again. Like, yo, how are we gonna, like, formulate and structure all of those forces? And I think that's where we need to be, the alchemists, the astrological alchemists, in this week. At least until we get like Moon going into Taurus, something like that. A nice position there. Venus kind of sliding into Virgo. Fully, hopefully that could help. But yeah, until we meet or greet again, guys, stay grounded and let me know down in the comments below what you thought about this forecast, this reading. I hope that you found it helpful, useful, or at the very least, a little entertaining. All right, I'm gonna go do some grounding right now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.